Good morning, everyone. My name is Corey. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. As the disclaimer goes, I am not a financial advisor. Please do your own research and do not invest in anything you are not willing to lose or hodl for a very long time. All right, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So first things first, what do you guys think about that new intro? I think it's pretty cool. I did not do the graphic design. However, I did do most of the layout, and I did all of the music work. I do particularly like my creative side when it comes to music. I do my own stuff on the side as a productions. So if you guys like the new intro, let me know in the comments. That's all I got on that. I want to get into today's news. There is a lot going on, especially in terms of the traditional markets and how they could be compared to our XRP markets and our crypto markets. So first things first, as you can see, if you're tuning in with me this morning, the video is being made right now at 6:45 a.m. and we are taking a nice small dive to the downside. We're sitting around 13.2 cents or 0.13265. All the rest of the markets are down. I can pull up the Bitcoin price as well. Bitcoin is also down 16%, sitting at $4,500, 4566.53 about. So everything in the market is down again. We're going to be suffering another red day, but it's not just us, it's the whole globe. It's every single market. Here we go. Stock markets for CNBC showing Dow futures are going to be down another 1,000 points at the opening of the morning, and that's even with the Fed coming out and cutting rates. I do have that article up. We will get into that. The first thing I want to do is start with Bill de Blasio. The New York City mayor came out and last night at 10:06 p.m. and sent out a tweet. Our lives are all changing in ways that were unimaginable just a week ago. We are taking a series of actions that we never would have taken otherwise in an effort to save the lives of loved ones and our neighbors. Now it is time to take yet another drastic step. The virus can spread rapidly through close interactions. New Yorkers have in restaurants, bars, and places where we sit close together are now going to be closed. We have to break that cycle tomorrow. I will sign an executive order limiting restaurants, bars, and cafes to food, takeout, and delivery. Nightclubs, movie theaters, small theater houses, and concert venues must all close. The order will go into effect Tuesday, March 17th at 9 a.m. So officially tomorrow at 9 a.m. It will go into effect. I highly believe that this is not going to be the only area that's doing this. I think that this is the very, very beginning of what we're seeing in terms of quarantine. So he continues, this is not a decision I make lightly. These places are part of the heart and soul of our city. They are part of what it means to be a New Yorker. But our city is facing an unprecedented threat, and we must respond with a wartime mentality. This is the second time I've heard a politician say the word war in conjunction with this virus. I'm not sure that I completely agree with the terminology. I think it's taking it a little bit too far, and it's going to cause a little bit of fear and panic inside of the people who are listening to the articles. But this is the wording we're using now because it is. All right, so we're moving on. New York is definitely going into quarantine. A lot of other places around the world are definitely doing that as well. This is a pretty big article. Dutch bank appears to have deregistered as a company in Germany. This is a backbone for the European Central Bank. Dutch bank is absolutely huge. What they're saying here is that pretty much Dutch bank has just unregistered as a company, period. Like, they're not even going to be a company anymore. It's the biggest bank in Europe. I don't have anything else. This is from @DeanOMight1 on Twitter. That's all I got on it. This is an attachment to that same tweet from @DutchlandXRP. I will actually follow him. And it is a document pretty much showing the form online of their deregistration as a business. So that is what's going on right now. Moving on, we've got Cryptomaniac 101 @the Cryptomaniac or @crypto_Maniac_. Even though future markets have been halted, sell pressure is mounting, and if it continues to be under halt for the night, all crashes that we've witnessed before will suddenly appear not so bad after all. Basically what he's saying is that the stock markets have already taken a serious tumble and have put some stress on the traditional markets, and they've already, I think, put in place the stop loss monitor, and because of that, they are going to experience significant losses that we're not even seeing right now, because that stop loss or that trigger to stop markets from trading has already been implemented. So there could be some more pain ahead. This guy saying at the bottom, DENS right here, can't drop more than 20%, or trading is done for the day. So probably 20% down in the markets is the maximum that we could see over the long haul, but who knows at this point. I'm gonna have to take a pause really here. My son is enjoying the video with us today, and I just need to tend to him, and we'll get right back into this. All right, and we're back. Sorry about that, guys. That's all right. Sometimes the teeny boppers get up a little bit early in the morning, and you got to take care of them. But no doubt, we are still moving on. Okay, we are right here. So this is a long blurb. This is everything that the Fed came out and announced. This is pretty much their what he was reading off of his document, and I just wanted to highlight in here. This is what they're talking about. So that is the thing that central banks were originally designed to do, was to provide liquidity to financial systems and stress. I typed in the word liquidity and to find how much they're talking about liquidity as an issue. It comes up 19 times in this. So obviously what we are experiencing is a liquidity crisis. There are a couple other things that were mentioned I want to read. So if we reduce the interest rate on discount window loans by 1.5 percentage points, that would bring the rate to 1/4%. We know that the Fed did cut rates by a 125 basis points. So we're basically sitting at 0% again overnight. In order to keep markets afloat. But as we can see, that rate cut didn't do anything to affect the markets, but shove it back down more to 1,000 points in the future. If we reduce the interest rate on discount window loans by 1.5 percentage points, bringing the rate to 1/4% or 0, it's going to help support liquidity. We made a coordinated announcement with the Bank of Canada, which we know works with XRP and Ripple, the Bank of England, which we know works with XRP and Ripple, the Bank of Japan, which we know works with XRP and Ripple, the European Central Bank, the Swiss National Bank. Those are all banks that we know that use XRP and Ripple, and there was discussions with them to make a coordinated announcement to help reduce the pricing on our dollar swap line. All right, so it says, I won't go into detail on other actions we took today, but they involved eliminating reserve requirements for banks and encouraging banks to make use of intraday credit with the Federal Reserve and other use their capital and liquidity buffers as they support lending to households and businesses. Okay, so what did the Federal Reserve do when they mean that? Okay, so reserve requirements, just in case any of you don't understand what they are, reserve requirements are the amount of cash that banks must have in their vaults at the closest Federal Reserve Bank, in line with deposits made by their customers set by the Fed's Board of Governors. Reserve requirements are one of the three main tools of monetary policy. The other two tools are open market operations and the discount rate. So it's the amount of money banks must have in their vaults, essentially, when sending out loans. So maybe they used to have a 3% requirement. So if you gave them $10, it means they could invest $7 wherever they wanted to invest it, but they had to keep $3 in their vaults. Now there is a 0% reserve requirement. So if you give them $10, they can take that $10 and do whatever the hell they want with it, and that's just going to look like numbers on your bank account. And then when you take out that money, they're going to have to take that money from somewhere else. So say you gave them $10 and they gave $5 of those dollars to John and $5 of those dollars to Cindy in the NASDAQ to invest in their stocks, and then you come in and you want your $10 back. Well, they got to go back and they got to take that from Lou and Steve, because all those, they didn't have the money to begin with. So what they're doing is they're taking money and they're moving it in a circle from person to person without any of it actually being there. And now they have reserve requirements of 0. So now banks don't need to hold any money at all. It's just floating around into nothing. We're just printing it out of nowhere. And that's what's happening. So this is the this is right off the Fed Reserve website right here. The Fed Reserve is encouraging banks to use their capital and liquidity buffers as they lend to households and businesses who are affected by the corona beer flu. In light of the shift to an ample reserve regime, the board has reduced reserve requirement ratios to 0% effective on March 26th. So not right now, it's not effective, but in 10 days it will officially be effective. So that is going to be who knows what that's going to do. But right now, it's not doing anything to help the markets. It is just effectively saying that banks no longer need to hold any cash, and they can lend it out as much as they want to with no restriction. So at Julia Chatterley on CNN, at Jay Chatterley CNN, perhaps the bigger point and message is that they won't get super cheap money again and use it to buy their own stocks at cheaper levels. So basically, banks are getting money from the Fed buys treasuries, loans out the money to the banks buy their stocks back at a cheaper rate. The buying of the stocks makes the stock price go higher, and it causes more people to jump into the stock market, seeing those green candles. But 8 of the largest U.S. banks just announced that they are not going to buy back shares through Q2 of 2020. And this is what her response is to say that they're no longer able to use that cheap money in order to buy stocks. So I think that we're seeing kind of a like a crunch, a common stop in the market. Nobody has any money left. Money is disappearing. People are pulling out of the markets left and right. We have a global pandemic, so we have a global fear going on, and this is what our market is having so much trouble with. When one bank runs out of money and we have all the money in another bank, we can move money around. But if everybody is taking their money out of the banks and banks can't lend to each other because we've taken all of our money out, then we're going to cause systemic risk to the economy. This is why they have to print trillions and trillions of dollars immediately, because as we're taking our money out, they need to keep those accounts for the banks full, because those are the ones that are running the numbers on the NASDAQ still. Okay, so this is from Reborn I'll go back. It is at REB0RN13. This is a little bit of conspiracy, but nonetheless, it all ties together, and I want everybody to see this. So the G10 currencies are the US dollar, the euro, the pound sterling, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, Norwegian krona, and Norwegian krone and Swedish krona. Those are the G10 currencies, okay? This is Michael Vaez saying zero doubt ever in 2017. Michael Vaez works at Ripple. He's trying to solve the liquidity problem with Ripple. He's trying to get everything together. I just wanted you to see those, though, those G10 currencies, because this is XRP Arcade. If you have not been to xrparcade.com, it is the #1 resource for XRP related news. The second resource for XRP related news is justxrp.com. That's the website right here. If you guys want to find some outstanding news and videos and charts and statistics and other XRP channels and cool stuff, please visit justxrp.com. But anyway, I'm done with that. We're going to be moving back to XRP Arcade. So I've highlighted here a couple of different banks that we just talked about, right? Japan, Canada, Switzerland, Australia, the United Kingdom, the United States, Sweden right here, Sweden again. So we see that all of those banks that were mentioned right here, all of those G10 currencies, well, their central banks are partnered with Ripple. So just to tie those together, I want you to see that it sounds, when you talk about an economy doing a complete financial makeover, essentially like going from a fiat economy to a digital economy, it's almost too much for you to fathom. I mean, it sounds fake because it's so much to take into consideration, that all of the banks in all of the time that you've been around in the last 120 years has been working on fiat currencies, whether they were attached or unattached to the gold standard. Well, now we're coming back into an era where we're going to have some kind of standard. And so it is the first time in many, many people's lives that we are seeing switch in a massive change in the financial economy, and getting things evened out again, and righting our wrongs and taking those steps necessary. And it's painful, and it's painful for everybody around the world to fix the problems that these people made over 100 years. And fixing 100 years worth of problems in 2 weeks on top of a global pandemic is no easy task, obviously. So these guys are also dealing with market panic and everything. But I've said it in another video, no major change comes at good times. We don't want to ruin good times, so we don't change anything. Well, when majorly horrible things start happening, that's when we can jump in and go, well, this didn't work, let's rewrite that. This didn't work, let's change that. And it happens quickly, and it happens in record time. They pass these things through Congress in order to get things moving, and it's the best time to do it. So the most change does usually happen during downturns, and that's an unfortunate thing, but it is the reality. We've got @boy_XRP, real XRP boy. There are a couple different accounts for him, so let's just be careful when we do look at this. So no, it doesn't have to be gold. It may be possible to designate some other unit of value that is universally recognized, readily accessible to individuals, yet highly utilized by governments as a monetary reserve asset. This is from Judy Shelton. She is going to be the Fed nominee for Trump in the next election. She's reading, how can our nation stand for free people and free markets and yet have nothing to say about the disrupting and destabilizing effects of capital flight and manipulative monetary policies? So basically, we've got a lot of manipulation going into the markets. I think that if you're following this channel as well as educating yourself on new financial markets, you probably know that. Judy Shelton is essentially pushing for us to have a single neutral reference point. Julie Chatterley again saying, I know of a unit account, a neutral reference point, meaning a transferring of value instantly while strengthening the current system by increasing demand for the big four currencies. It's called XRP. All right. Last thing I want to go with today is the Dalai Lama. Sometimes we feel we can't do much by ourselves, but humanity is made up of individuals. We can make a difference as individuals. We can influence our own families. Our families can shape our communities, and our communities form our nations. Together, we can make a better world. I am doing my part to try to influence and educate my family on the different aspects of the economy that are presented today. We don't have a traditional economy as our only reference point. We have a digital economy now. We can look at new ways of investing. We can look at new ways to move money. We can look at new ways of real estate and everything because of the technology that's coming out today. And I think it's our part to stay calm, to continue doing our research, to look at things behind the scenes, to guide our families who are not necessarily as adept at doing this kind of research. And we should educate them to teach them, what's going on and how they can better be prepared for it so that they're not so hurt in the future by what's coming. So let's all take that stance. Let's all work together by moving this information around and showing people that there are alternatives and there are ways that we can help each other by moving our money and, becoming the next people to help out those in need around this world. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. If you liked and enjoy the work that I'm doing, please subscribe and like today's video, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. Have a great day.